What if I told you one of the greatest players in NBA history, a two-time MVP, a Hall of Famer, a man celebrated for power, discipline, and longevity, was hiding a story so disturbing that even today, the league barely talks about it? No game footage, no trophies, no highlights, just silence. This is the story of Karl Malone and the controversy that changed how many fans see him forever. Karl Malone is a name etched into NBA history, second all-time leading scorer to MVP awards, a key part of the legendary Utah Jazz duo alongside John Stockton. For nearly 2 decades, Malone represented consistency, toughness, and professionalism. To fans, he was the mailman because he always delivered. But while the world watched his dominance on the court, there was a chapter of his life that stayed buried for years. In the mid-1980s, before Karl Malone became an NBA superstar, he was a college athlete at Louisiana Tech. During that time, it later came out that Malone had a relationship with a 13-year-old girl. Yes, 30. That relationship resulted in a child. At the time, the story remained largely unknown. No headlines, no public outrage, and Malone went on to be drafted into the NBA, where fame, money, and success followed. For years, Malone reportedly refused to acknowledge the child. No public statement, no early financial support, no accountability. It wasn't until legal action years later that a court ordered child support. Even then, critics argued the response was minimal, and the emotional damage had already been done. The child grew up largely without his father's presence, while Malone became one of the most celebrated athletes on earth. Here's the question that still makes people uncomfortable. How did the NBA, the media, and fans ignore this? Some say it happened before Malone's NBA career. Times were different. The league didn't want to damage a star's image, but others argue something darker. That talent protected him. That success bought silence. That winning mattered more than morality. If this happened today, would the reaction be the same? When the story resurfaced years later, especially in the age of social media, the response was immediate and fierce. Fans began asking hard questions. Should Karl Malone still be celebrated? Can greatness on the court erase harm off it? Where do we draw the line between athlete and accountability? For many, Malone's legacy was permanently altered, not erased, but stained. This story isn't just about Karl Malone. It's about power, celebrity, and silence. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth that sports culture has often protected stars, while victims were forgotten. And it asks us something deeper. Do we admire athletes blindly, or do we demand responsibility with greatness? Karl Malone will always be an NBA legend, but legends are still human, and humans must be held accountable. So the real question isn't what Karl Malone did on the court. The question is, can we separate greatness from guilt, or should some shadows follow forever?